Groundwater by Sean McCollum. When the water runs out, picture getting up one morning, turning on the faucet, and getting nothing but a gurgle. This happened in 2014 in a part of California famous for producing fruits and vegetables. Years of drought there meant little rainfall, so to irrigate their crops, farmers pumped massive amounts of groundwater from under the land. The result? Some 2,000 dry wells. In response, the county government set up centers where people could get drinking water and take showers. Even with rain, though, experts warn the shortage of groundwater there will not end soon. Unfortunately, California isn't the only place with a water crisis. What and where is groundwater? Many of us glance at a globe and are fooled into thinking the planet holds plenty of water for all our needs. However, 97% of the Earth's water is in our oceans, and its salt content makes it undrinkable and useless for watering crops. Fresh water keeps us alive by quenching our thirst and allowing us to grow food. Less than 3% of Earth's water is fresh water. Of that small percentage, polar ice caps and glaciers lock up almost 70%. Although surface water, the fresh water in our rivers, lakes, and ponds, is often the most visible, it makes up just 0.3% of our fresh water supply. Scientists estimate that a whopping 99% of Earth's usable water is groundwater. Groundwater is fresh water that flows slowly underground. Most of it is stored beneath land in aquifers, underground layers of rock, gravel, and sand that retain groundwater like colossal sponges. Rain and melting snow, called recharge water, percolate very slowly to the surface soil and rock. This water feeds the aquifers, which can reach down thousands of feet and extend for thousands of miles. Aquifers in turn feed our rivers, lakes, and wetlands. They also irrigate the best farming regions in the world. For more than a century, people have been pumping billions of gallons of water from underground to drink, grow crops, and meet other needs. Even during droughts, communities and farms located above aquifers can draw groundwater to survive and thrive. This water source keeps much of humanity from going hungry and thirsty. The trouble is that people are pumping water much faster than nature can replace it, and researchers are tracking an alarming trend. Groundwater levels are falling fast. Water crises threaten food supplies and peace. Worldwide, experts are warning about the dangers of exhausting this life-giving resource. Too many straws. Research now shows people are using up groundwater at unsustainable rates. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, water levels have declined in almost two-thirds of the wells across the United States since 1995. Experts predict that the Oglala Aquifer below the Great Plains could be 70% depleted by the year 2060. Competition for groundwater is causing conflict in some farming areas. In Northern California, for example, winemakers grow acres of grapes. Grapes require large amounts of water to grow. Many of these growers have drilled deep wells to make sure they can get the groundwater they need. Without it, they might go out of business. Many smaller farmers and homeowners nearby, though, are concerned by what they consider water grabbing. They blame these vineyards for sucking up too much of the groundwater they all share, while their shallower wells go dry. In many cases, these smaller property owners cannot afford to drill deeper wells for themselves. It's as if everyone has their straws in the same drink, but some farms and businesses can pay for more and longer straws. The situation raises big questions. Who owns groundwater? How much usage is fair? Water fights. Halfway around the world, Pakistan's available water has dropped by almost 75% in the last 60 years. Many in Pakistan put the blame on India, their neighbor to the south. They accuse India of building dams that block river water that would normally flow to them. This situation, Pakistani farmers argue, has forced them to pump more groundwater. Indian officials say Pakistan itself is to blame due to poor management of the water it has. Today, both countries, longtime rivals that have fought 4 wars in the past, face water shortages and increasing competition for fresh water. The United Nations predicts such water crises will only grow worse. United Nations officials estimate that if nothing changes, the world will fall 40% short of its water needs by the year 2030. Nearly 2 billion people worldwide could face severe water shortages, leading to food shortages and famine. Such water crises can contribute to conflict and war, experts warn. In some places, lack of water has already forced large numbers of people to leave their homes and lands. In Syria, for example, drought drove rural people into cities. Evidence suggests that this movement in turn helped start a civil war in 2011 in which many Syrians have died. In many places, groundwater is that important, the difference between green farms or dusty fields, a matter of life and death. Developing safe, reliable water supplies for as many people as possible needs to be an international priority. Failing to address the water crisis leads to clashes, violence, and great suffering that threatens to spread as people continue to fight for water resources. Staying out of trouble. There is an old saying, it is easier to stay out of trouble than get out of trouble. This is true about the world's supply of groundwater. Dealing with the crisis now will be much easier than dealing with it after aquifers are depleted. Maintaining our groundwater supply requires us to plan ahead, however, while carefully managing how we use water today. Many experts predict the challenges will only become more difficult. One growing threat to the world's groundwater supply is climate change. Almost all scientists who study the Earth now agree that its average temperature is rising, with the 10 hottest years on record all hitting since the year 2000. Climate change may also mean large-scale changes in weather patterns. For example, climatologists predict regions that rely on regular rainy seasons may see those seasons shift, or the amount of precipitation they deliver change. Major disruptions in water availability would likely result. Another huge challenge is population growth. Currently, more than 7 billion people live on our planet. That figure is expected to reach 11 billion by the year 2100. All of these people will need water to drink and grow food. We must manage our groundwater now, and we can. Farming smarter. Conservation of water is the best hope for ensuring sustainable water supplies. This means developing and practicing ways to reduce water usage and keep more groundwater in the ground. Improving our farming practices is by far the most important action we can take to conserve groundwater. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, about 65% of the fresh groundwater Americans pump to the surface is used to irrigate crops. Studies indicate many forms of irrigation are wasteful. They spray and sprinkle water on the surface where much of it is lost to evaporation. More farmers now accept that they cannot keep pumping so much groundwater. They're adopting new ideas and technologies to make sure every drop counts. For example, some farms now use tensionometers. These sensors monitor moisture in the soil and turn the irrigation on and off automatically, wasting less water. Many fruit and nut orchards are also changing their practices. They now bury irrigation pipes to deliver water closer to the tree roots, reducing water waste. Planting different crops is another major change that can help conserve groundwater. In states such as Kansas and Iowa, some farms are switching from corn to wheat and sorghum. Corn requires a lot more water than the other two, but corn crops earn more money, so other farmers remain reluctant to change. Still, if farms do not conserve water voluntarily, exhausted aquifers will eventually force them to. Future focus. Record drought forced California to conserve water. Lawmakers there passed the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act in 2014, which required the monitoring of water levels in aquifers. It gave the state authority to enforce stronger water conservation measures if communities did not come up with their own plans. For instance, cities could fine people $500 a day if they violated restrictions on washing cars and watering lawns. Restrictions like these worked. From June 2014 until December 2014, per capita water use plummeted. On average, Californians went from using as much as 140 gallons per person to just 67 gallons. Nationwide, 57% of American households rely on groundwater. In rural areas, that figure is more than 90%. Fortunately, small changes in plumbing and water use habits can save hundreds of gallons in the average. American home each week. By installing low flush toilets and taking shorter showers, we can contribute to groundwater conservation. Another small effort that can save gallons is running only full loads in washing machines and dishwashers. In addition, property owners can save large volumes of water by replacing thirsty grass lawns with landscaping that needs less watering. The motto in California for letting lawns die is pretty catchy. Brown is the new green. There is no quick, easy fix for preserving groundwater. People need to drink. Farmers need to irrigate crops to grow our food. Still, we can be smarter about how we use this resource both now and far into the future.